Hey guys, Breakaway Channel here with another race breakdown. This time we're back at a familiar course. Some of you might remember it from my first breakdown. A lot of races have been cancelled because of the COVID-19, so I had to search for an alternative, and here it is. So, let's start. So the footage starts after 20 minutes neutralized, where nothing much happened. On the left side of the road you can see the green flag. This means the race is opened and we're off for a 45-minute race. So I'll move over to the right side of the track to position myself more towards the back of the group. Not too much, because we're with a big group today. Around 35 riders made it to the start on this sunny Saturday morning, so you don't want to be too far at the back. You can see a couple of riders moving up on my right side, and as the rider in front moves up towards the front, I try to follow him. But I don't want to do too much, because my game plan today was not doing too much at the beginning of the race. Something that's sometimes quite difficult for me. So this was a race where I could work on this. So the rider in front leaves a small gap, and I have to make a decision. Do I overtake her or do I stay behind? When I overtake her, it's low risk, high cost. But when I stay behind, it's high risk, low cost. Luckily the riders on the right of me get past and I can jump on their wheel and don't have any risk and also not so many costs. So I try to stay in the group, not too far in the back, not too far at the front. But at this point of the race I was maybe a little bit too far at the back. Luckily the field spread out and it wasn't going super fast, but still I had to move up to the front. And luckily this rider on the right of me could help me do that. I can move up in his wheel, but when you look at my power data, I'm still doing a lot of power when I'm in his wheel, so it still costs me some energy, but not as much as I would have done when I was alone. So I try to stay out of the wind, don't do too much. Here I get on the front, but immediately move to the right side so other riders can get past. But this rider thinks different and does a small attack, but nothing important. So try to stay in the front, try to slot in a spot in the peloton. There are a couple of attacks here and there, but nothing too special. The most important thing for me is to try and stay out of the wind, and I think that's I'm doing quite a good job at this point. But you can always do better. You can see the rider in front of me working with his elbows, trying to squeeze him through a small gap. But it's a fun race. So it's as I said, a really big pack, 35 riders on a small circuit. Everyone wants to do their best because this is probably the last race in a long time. So everyone wants to stay in the front, everyone wants to show their best self. As you can see here, it's sometimes quite hectic in the race. So here I try to stay out of the wind and try to move up towards the front to maybe do my first little attack. So I squeeze between those two riders and put down some power and try to get away from the peloton. And I'm not doing full gas because I know it's quite a long race, but I'm doing decent amount of that. So this rider comes past and I try to follow him, but as you can see I'm doing 700 plus watts and I know this is too early to get away, so I let him go and try to stay with the peloton behind because it wasn't really far away. So I still stay quite at the front because there are small gaps behind me. Again, this person in front of me lets a small gap, so I have to close it down because otherwise they ride away. I know it's are both quite strong riders and they can get away from the peloton if they work together. So I have to get it back, try to get it back, and it's costing me a lot of energy, but I know if I let them go, it will cost me even more energy to get them back. So I'm almost back, but they trying to get away from me. I look behind and I'm seeing the peloton is in my wheel, so I don't think they were quite happy about it, but yeah, I brought back the peloton with me, but if I hadn't done it, I don't know if we would ever get back at this group, so yeah, that's unfortunate, but still trying to stay at the front, and there go 3 riders at the front, try to get away. Everyone tries to follow, but it's a quite strong rider at the front, and yeah, everyone wants to get with them, but they are quite strong, so you can see maybe they got a little gap, maybe 5 meters, and yeah, I have to get back as fast as possible, otherwise they are gone. So you can see 3 riders at front, 1 rider behind, then those 2 riders in front of me, and then it's me. And we want to get back as fast as possible, because I know there are 3 strong riders at the front. So the rider in front of me also is a very strong rider, and here we need to make a split-second decision, left or right, from this rider that's going quite slow on the track. So I do my pull at front, and we try to bridge the gap, which isn't easy. So you can see here on the left side is a little gap. I got surprised by how many riders only were in this group, so I had to slot behind this rider. But maybe you can see, but this rider is letting a little bit of a gap, and again, high risk, low cost, or the other way around, and this time it was high risk and I lost, so it's high risk and high cost. So I get back to this rider, but then again he lets the gap to the riders in front, and I have to chase them down, which isn't easy when they're doing full gas at the front. So you can see I'm doing 400 plus watts, and I'm not getting back to them. The gap didn't look very big, but it's getting bigger and bigger, and yeah, it's getting harder to get back as we zoom in on the riders in front. You can see 3 riders in front, 1 rider behind, and then it's me, so I'm on P5. I look behind and I see no one's in my wheel, so it's the only thing I could do was try to get back to them or let the peloton come back. And at first I tried to get back to the group in front, but after a while I realized this wasn't worth it. So here I get back, caught by the peloton, and the 3 riders actually have a really big gap, and now it's for us to close down that gap if we want to have a chance at the win. So for me it's a little bit of resting, a little bit of staying behind and not too much at the front, because I've wasted a lot of energy. So here we are a little bit further on the left side. The yellow marked riders are the riders from the breakaway. They lapped us actually, so really great job of them. We're riding for P5, so yeah, we can't win really, but it's still probably the last race in a long time, so everyone still wanted to go full gas and try to go for P5. So as you can see, we're going quite fast. It's a long stretched single file peloton, so it's going quite fast. You can see there's a rider in front, but he doesn't get very far. So yeah, I'm thinking of attacking too, but I don't want to do too much. My position is quite good. I'm not too far in front, so I have to do things, but when something happens, I can react quickly. So I think I'm in a quite good position, as this rider leaves a little gap. So I bridge back to the peloton and go past to place an attack, because why not? I'm already wasting energy, so let's see what the rest can do. So yeah, I get a little gap, but it isn't too much. Everyone has to work behind me, but not so much as me. So I'm kind of wasting my energy, which isn't very good. Especially when my game plan was done too much at the front. But here I am at the front, and here I am getting caught back. And yeah, I just wasted energy, and maybe if I got one rider with me, we could have bridged away or maybe unlapped ourselves, but yeah, it wasn't for this attack. So here we are a couple of laps later in the race. We're going towards the midpoint of the race. I think they're past 25 minutes, and I start to attack again. But when I attack, the rider on the right side of me doesn't see me and almost runs me off the track. So yeah, I needed to brake a little bit, which is quite unfortunate. But no hard feelings against him. It's just it was a bit annoying that I was in the middle of my attack and they moved to the left side of the road where I was. So yeah, no attack, which was quite unfortunate. I think maybe we could have gotten away if they tried to get in my wheel instead of blocking me. But again, as said, no hard feelings, just respect. This is actually the same guy from the first video. In the first video he had the red and orange kit, and it's a really strong rider, so yeah, you want to be friends with him, otherwise he will get your attack back every time, so just kidding. So as you can see, we're going at a medium pace, around 40 km/h. I'm not doing too much work, but yeah, it's near the end of the race. Everyone tries to get to the front. There are a couple of attacks, but not too much. So I think I'm in the ideal position. You can see the rider look behind and scream "Cycling Fanatics." It's really nice to see him do this kind of stuff. I mean, he's fighting for the win today, and he's still doing fun things. So yeah, as you can see on the left side of me, only 5 laps to go. So let's watch the whole race from here on. So again, 5 laps to go. Everyone starts to get active again. And I need to stay active too, so I need to stay at the front. And yeah, I don't want to be too much in the front, because I have to do too much work in the wind, and it's still maybe, I think now 4 laps to go. So I let a couple of riders past. I don't want to interrupt with the breakaway, so they can fight for the win. but I want to go for P5 because P5 is the highest achievable today. So yeah, I tried to do that, and I had two options: try to break away or try to go for a sprint. And I was thinking maybe to go for the sprint. So when you want to go for the sprint, you have to stay in front. But when you get in front too early, actually I lead out for the riders behind. So I let this rider from the breakaway get in front, as this rider also gets in front of me. So now I've only got 4 people in front of me, I think, maybe 5, and it's less than 3 laps to go. And yeah, I try to move up, but I get swamped by a lot of riders. It's going not really fast, but it's trying to stay at the front, but don't do too much. So yeah, maybe I'm a little bit too much in the wind here. So I try to squeeze into the left side, but there's not much room. You could hear some people scream, but dude, it's racing, it's not ballet. Yeah, just race. And here I'm good out of the wind, but I decide to attack, and it was quite a good point to attack, I think. When I look behind, I got quite a big gap in the beginning, and I'm doing 600 watts, so that's quite a lot, going 50 k's per hour, still doing 500 watts, 110 RPM, so and it's only 2 laps to go, so it's 1.5 lap to go from here on. And when I look behind, I actually got quite a big gap, and I'm still doing 400 plus watts, so it's looking quite good. So 50 k's per hour almost, but I'm starting to really feel it, and it's only 1 lap to go, so the last lap will be decided who will finish 5th and who will win the race. So when I look behind me, I still got probably 30 meters, and I have to give it my all, so I stand up in the pedals one last time to try to stay in front. Still 25 meters, I think, so still doing around 400 watts, and I look behind and I think maybe, but come on, but no. The riders fly past me, and I just got caught maybe 100 meters, 150 meters before the finish. That was quite unfortunate, but still finished top 10 and quite happy with the result. The rider from the intro won the race, so congrats on him. And thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Stay safe and let's ride!